Bills Pod Squad is brought to you by the New York Lottery. Play the limited edition New York Series scratch-off game and you could catch up to $1 million. You must be 18 years or older to purchase a lottery ticket. On this week's episode, we sit down with Fox Sports sideline reporter Erin Andrews, who discusses her well-rounded background, her craziest moment in her career, and why she has so much passion for her job. Kim and I discuss our favorite moments from the Bills season as we hit the halfway mark and look ahead to next week's game against the NFC West leading Seahawks. Welcome into Bills Pod Squad, presented by the New York Lottery. It's a podcast that takes you around the NFL from players to the media and beyond. Maddy Glab and Bills owner and president Kim Pegula here as your hosts, and today we've got Fox NFL sideline reporter Erin Andrews on with us. She talks about her time as a sideline reporter, her clothing line, and her wildest game. But before we get to Erin, let's chat about the Bills. Kim, we are at the halfway mark heading into week 9. Let's relive some of the best moments, because there have been a lot of great moments so far in this season. 8 weeks through, even though we've got a season with COVID and it's not as normal as we would have hoped it would be, there's still been some awesome things that have happened with this team.
There has, and it's flown by. I cannot believe that we're at the halfway mark already.
I think it's gone a little bit faster than previous seasons.
It really has. If I think back to some of the highlights, I'm going to say probably one of them, I'm just going to say them out of order. I don't know. As I talk about, sometimes I don't always remember every play, but so these are going to be a little bit more general. But
I like it.
I'm going to say that Rams game, where we were ahead at halftime by 25 points, and then we were behind, and then we end up winning with the last few seconds. I think that's one of those games where we don't play the Rams that often, and for them to be here in Buffalo, and then we had such a hot start. We had a hot start to the season, and then it was just the biggest roller coaster ride of a game. So and then just clinching that at the last few seconds, there's nothing like those games where you're just on the edge of your seats all the time. So I'm going to say that's probably one of my favorite moments there.
Yeah, I definitely call that a statement win for the Buffalo Bills this year, playing a team that they don't see often and being able to beat them. Yes, they were up on them quite a bit in the first half of the game. It got a little dicey and close there in the second half, but they finished out with a win. I'd say one of the games in the beginning of the season that sticks out to me the most is Josh's 400-yard game against the Dolphins. It was a close game too. It was 38-21 was the final score, but Josh's stat line, I think, just kind of said boom, I'm here. It's my third year. People have doubted me, but this is the type of quarterback I'm going to be this season. He threw for 415 yards, had 4 touchdowns that he threw for, and also had a 146 passer rating, which were all career highs for him, and he's been able to do that in so many games this season, which has been awesome to see the progression that he's made over the offseason, in an offseason where you would think not a lot of work would be able to get done, not a lot of progression would be made with players, but man, has he shown growth this season. I know we've had a little downturn in some stats and things like that from Josh and the offense when we face some tough teams like the Chiefs and the Titans, but there's still so much left in store. I think he's even shown growth over the last 2 weeks and being able to really read what a defense gives him. So I'm excited for the future for him and the future of this offense.
Yeah.
What about the second thing for you?
The second thing, just to comment on your Miami game, I agree, and I think that most media people, personnel out there thought that he would get better. It's his third year, but I think everyone was really shocked, and especially that Miami game kind of just really put it into perspective of the growth that he was going to have from last year to this year.
Yeah.
It was a big jump. It wasn't, it's been gradual, but certainly I think that game really put the mark that this isn't just slow and steady. He made really some big progress. And
it was a
leap
from year 2 to year 3.
Really was.
And you've talked about before on the podcast, when you guys drafted Josh, he had the most ceiling, the most upside out of any of the quarterbacks. And to take a chance, you have some people that are like, okay, we can really predict what this player has been in college and how they're going to transition into the NFL. But I think you look at his stats in Wyoming versus other quarterbacks, and it's kind of like, okay, he had some great things that he did at Wyoming, but man, can this grow based on what he's shown in college and transition to the NFL. So being able to see that upside that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott were able to see, I think you're now seeing this in year 3.
No, definitely. And I think that part of it is also when we were drafting Josh, I think it was also the potential that he had, the upside that you just talked about. But I also think it was, for Terry and I, it was also knowing the environment he was coming into. We were confident that he was going to get the right coaching, the right environment, the right growth, the right training to develop and kind of to his full potential. And so I think those two, like I said, seeing it come to alive in Miami game, it's not a race, but certainly that Miami game was kind of a big factor to tell not just himself, our team, but kind of everyone that I'm on the right path. And so happy that game was a lot of fun. I would say my next one would be, I'm going to say probably that the game we played against the Jets in the 8 field goal kicks and the 6 making it, but I've never been at a game where like every point was a field goal.
Some people may say that game was a little sleepy, Kim.
Yeah, it was such an interesting game. Like I said, I mean, there's so many parts and pieces to every game, so my memory is not as good, so I can't remember every one. But I remember like the feelings, or I remember just kind of my thoughts during a game, and I remember just like, okay, we're in the red zone, we're TD, here we come, and then it's like I'm like, well, no, we can't do a field goal again, right? And it's like after the fourth one, you're just wondering like, okay, we can't just like have the whole game being field goals, and we did, and we won. I mean, that's what happens. Like you find a way to win, but that was certainly an interesting game to have that many field goal kicks. Especially with our rookie kicker.
Yeah, it's something that does not happen often at all from an NFL team. I would say my second favorite thing that I've seen this season from this team is just all the big plays that we've seen from Josh Allen and from the receivers. I think you draft Josh Allen, and one thing that was obvious about him was the type of arm that he had. And he aired it out in his first and second year, but he didn't connect necessarily on all of those passes in his first 2 seasons. And I think this year we've really been able to see him connect on those receptions. And I know through most of the season, the team has ranked in the top 10, the top 5 in 20-plus receptions. So that's given me a lot of hope for what this team can do when they're down and they need to make big plays happen, that they can do that. And one of the players who's been able to help with that has been Stefon Diggs, and the connection that him and Josh have been able to have through this first year, I think is incredible to me, just based on the fact that they couldn't be together for so long, and then they meet face to face for like the first time. I mean, they had the time in Florida together in May, but you really get together as a team in late July when training camp is starting, and all the mini camps were canceled, and it's like, okay, this is go time. We have 3 weeks before the season kicks off. Good luck working on that connection and making it be something that helps this team win, and it completely has been.
It certainly has, and and he's still. I'm not sure if you can see it all the time on the broadcast for our fans, but what Diggs does on the sideline, how he gets the guys pumped up. I mean, if you watch closely and you can see, well, at least I can see it from where I watch the game, is his interaction with the whole sideline, with the whole team. He's there when they need him for a little extra support, a little, kick in the butt, whatever it is. You see how engaged he is with the whole team, and that's just great to see. Great addition to our team.
Yeah, definitely. I love his his attitude. I love his personality that we can see from him on social media and practices. I feel like he just brightens up the wide receiver room and the team as a whole, and I'm really pumped that he's in Buffalo. What's your third favorite moment?
I'm going to say probably just because it's fresh in my mind is...
I think we might be talking about the same one.
The Zimmer's forced fumble there of Cam Newton in our last game right there to kind of just really put the game away. So such a great, steady player. Doesn't, always get all the splash, his name as a player, but that's what makes up a whole team is guys that make plays that maybe they don't make it every game, but they make it when it counts. And someone who's always there, dependable, can do the job, and you need that in every team. And he certainly showed it with helping us secure that home win against the Patriots that we've all been waiting for so long.
Yeah, I am copying off that. I would say Justin Zimmer's forced fumble there in the fourth quarter when they were in Bills territory with a chance to kick a field goal,
I was shoveling
score
that
a touchdown.
Candy in. I was shoveling candy and food and pizza and whatever else was there because that was like really close. And then so talked about Brandon Bean, Joe Shane are down like in the first row, right?
Yeah.
In our
what was
suite,
the
right?
box, the suite
so,
like
but
for
they
that
saw
game?
It, so I don't they sometimes yell out stuff that I still haven't seen happen yet, right? I feel like they can predict a lot of things.
Did they yell ball
right?
before you saw a ball pop
Yeah,
out?
I was like, what? Because they started yelling, and I was like, what happened? Because I didn't see it, and I stood up a little bit higher, and so I couldn't tell that was a fumble. I just saw him go to the ground, and so it was just like I said, I was just busy shoveling the candy in my mouth, and then they yelled ball, and then I was like, oh my gosh, what happened, right? So it was a lot of fun, and like I said, that's just a great moment, knowing how much that meant for our community, just to have that win under our belt that we've been waiting for so long.
Such a wonderful moment for Buffalo, for the fans, for you and Terry, for the players, something that this team has been working to accomplish since 2016 was the last time that the Bills beat the Patriots. The last time they did at home was 2011. So
and we're 4-0 in our division now. So that also too just was nice to have. So besides just that it being New England, but this season kind of taking the lead consistently over the last few weeks of being first in our division too. So.
That segment was brought to you by Safelite. Safelite is also this week's game sponsor, the official auto glass repair and replacement partner of the Buffalo Bills. All right, let's chat about our fan box for this week. I'm wearing the shirt. It's Cody Ford's fan box. So
I love it.
This is our players. They are able to design a T-shirt for our home games. So this week's is Cody Ford's fan box, and I really like this color and the combo of the Bills colors. So this T-shirt benefits Western New York heroes, so honoring our veterans. If you buy the fan box, it also comes with a camo drawstring bag that is pretty cool. But I'm a big fan of this
and I
one.
like how you're accessorizing that with the Erin Andrews line of jacket there. So no, I love it. Such a huge shout out to our frontline workers, our veterans. I love that that we're our players are allowed to kind of show their support in this way, and you can connect with our players and some of the things that inspire them. Such a great cause. I love the T-shirt. I love the combo too. I love the color combo.
Yeah.
It's always good. Blue and red and white, it goes with everything.
It looks good. It really does. It's available at billsfanbox.com until Sunday, November 8th at 11:59 p.m. So don't wait till 11:59 p.m. Just go buy it today. The Buffalo Bills are proud to partner with National Grid in promoting the Safety First initiative, where every time a Bills safety makes a tackle at home, National Grid will donate $50 to the 100 Club of Buffalo in support of first responders and their families. National Grid reminds you to put safety first in your home with this easy tip. Check the batteries in your carbon monoxide detectors regularly. Here's our interview with Fox NFL sideline reporter Erin Andrews. Erin, thanks so much for being on with us. We know this is your busy season, as it is the same for us. You're always on the road during the NFL season, and I know you're probably working throughout this interview checking up on things on your phone as news has constantly been breaking today in the NFL. But speaking of teams in the NFL, the Buffalo Bills are 6-2 through 8 weeks. They're 4-0 in the AFC East, lead the division. They're 4-0 in the East for the first time since 1991. We've kind of seen a resurgence of Josh Allen in his third year as an NFL quarterback, doing some things that he hasn't done before, kind of showing the NFL the type of arm, the type of quarterback that he can be. What are your impressions of the Buffalo Bills so far this season?
Well, we had you guys on, it was supposed to be a Thursday night, and then it turned into a Monday night. And I feel like so many people, coaches and players have said this, it's such an adjustment this year and a week-to-week thing. But I'm bummed about my Buffalo experience because we came in after, I believe, a Sunday game in Tampa. We got right to Buffalo. I've never even met Josh Allen. And this is one of these unfortunate things about the season. So thankful we're having football. But myself, Troy Aikman, Joe Buck, we were saying this would have been such a great time to go to the facility, actually sit down with the coaching staff, get to shake Josh Allen's hand, meet a lot of these guys. And it didn't happen this year. We were on a call with him and so forth. But yeah, he was one of the guys I was really looking forward to kind of just meeting. Hey, how are you? Haven't been able to work one of your games before. But look, I'm excited about him. I as we sit here and in week 9, it's going to be Tom Brady taking on Drew Brees, and I have Aaron Rodgers this Thursday night. It's kind of like the old regime, and you see these new guys starting to come in, like the Mahomes, the Josh Allens, the Garoppolos when he's healthy, and so forth. So it's such an exciting time, I think, for the sport and to get to know these guys. That's why I'm ready for everything to be figured out in our world, so we can actually get back to where we were and get to know them and actually reference him. I feel bad even talking about Josh Allen because I haven't even got a chance to meet him yet.
Well, you are working football, but you have worked in other leagues, other sports besides football. So just give us a little bit of background about maybe some of our listeners who don't know where you came from. You just kind of appeared on the scene. You've been a part of the NFL for many years. But give us some background in what other sports that you've been a part of, what other roles that you played, and why you love football.
Well, I love sports because of my dad. I'm a daddy's girl, and I was the firstborn out of the 2 girls in our family. And my dad just kind of took me under his wing, and he's a journalist as well, and he's so good at storytelling, and he would tell me stories about his favorite teams and players and coaches and kind of weave it in a way that was so interesting to me. So I fell in love with that. My dad's from New England, which I know Buffalo fans aren't into, but he wasn't a Patriots fan. So there's that. He was always into the Celtics and the Red Sox and then the Packers. So look, that was my way. My dad and I bonded, and I would learn all these stories. And I went to the University of Florida and knew I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. And my first job out of college, I was the rinkside reporter for the NHL team in Tampa. They just won the Stanley Cup. And it was very exciting. So, from there, I got my first job with the Lightning, and then I moved on to TBS, and I worked for the Braves, and then I went on to ESPN. I worked College Game Day for 8 years, which was really exciting. And then I got my start with Fox, I think probably 8 years ago, 8 years ago. So basically I've been doing this for 20 years. So I started when I was 1 year old because, I'm 21, joking. But yeah, I think the biggest thing for me and what's made a difference for me in my career is I'm a huge sports fan. I just love it so much. And you have to. And I remember one of my first college professors saying, you really got to love this job because you're going to sacrifice a lot. I lost a lot of girlfriends coming out of college because they couldn't make their weddings because they all got married on weekends that there were college football games. I was working. I'm like, who gets married for Florida LSU weekend? Are you crazy? I'm working that game. I can't be in your wedding. So there's a lot of sacrifice. I haven't been home for Thanksgiving since I started working for 20 years. I also am missing Christmas this year because we're going to have a game on Christmas Day. And it's a lot of sacrifice, but Kim, as you know, it's worth it. And when you love it, I don't see myself doing anything else.
Well, I'm sure though that way back when your first job with Tampa Bay, was this always something? Did you ever doubt yourself? Because you have been one of the trailblazers of women in sports.
Definitely.
And being in the business for the last 20 years, like you said, it's back then on your first job, I'm sure you had some hesitations. You probably had some probably discouragers. Did you ever doubt yourself being a female and being in that role in sports?
I think, and this is another reason why I can't wait till COVID's over. Josh Allen and you, Kim, like I want to sit down and have a couple of drinks with you and just pick your brain and see how you feel about this because
I'm there.
it is
I'm there.
interesting. And women, I know, lots of drinks. It'll be a lunch, dinner, a dinner, if you will. You know, people ask me that all the time, and I think, and I'm dying to ask you the same question. I think because I was so, and I still am so obsessed with doing a good job. And yes, part of that is because I never played in the NFL. I never have picked up a football competitively, obviously, in my life. I've never played basketball. I was a dancer. My pom-poms are right over my shoulder.
I was a cheerleader.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. And I love that. But I don't think, I've never felt like, I have thought I have to prove myself, but I never really worried about being the only female on the road with 40 guys. I feel like it's always fueled me, but I never was worried about not belonging I do worry about proving myself, and I still do to this day. But it was never an experience where it was just like, oh, I have to be a certain way because I'm a female. I am just so motivated that I want to show people how much I love sports. And I do believe that players trust me, coaches trust me. They can tell me things, and be honest about stuff. And that doesn't come unless they know you've worked hard, you have the credibility. I think it's almost more you want to prove yourself maybe to some of the writers that like to take shots at you, that don't know you, or the fans making comments on Twitter. But I've never been a person where I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm in a male dominated industry and it makes me a tad insecure. I feel like I almost don't have time for it because I'm like, who's playing today at running back for Green Bay? So what am I going to ask the defensive player calling me tomorrow? And maybe that's the wrong way to feel, but at our dinner, Kim, I'm going to ask you all about that. I'll ask you it now. I'm asking questions.
Yeah, let's hear it, Kim.
How do you feel about it?
I think the point that you made is really spot on, because what happens is that, even though you may work harder because you feel like you want to prove yourself, right? But that makes you better. Like
you've said that before.
I enjoy that challenge, and I think I benefit from the doubt of others. That I find myself, I think I do a better job because I am trying to prove, and I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing, and
Kim,
I'm happy that
how
people
hard
do
are
that.
you on yourself, though? Like, I think for me, one of the things, like Monday mornings are really hard for me because if I miss maybe a storyline that happened, or if I didn't sell something that I saw on the sideline go down, like prime example, okay? Allen Robinson, the other day, we did the Bears game. I saw him, he was frustrated with the way a series went, excused himself from the offense, went over by himself, started talking to himself. I told my producers all about it. They're like, that's awesome. We got the shots. Let's do it. I gave the whole report. And then Troy came on and said, and you got to think, Erin, Allen Robinson is a guy that had a concussion. And I was like, oh, I didn't mention that in the report, but that's why we're such a good team. Cause Troy's like, hey, and don't forget this. And I help him with things like that. But Monday mornings are hard for me because I don't want to miss an injury. I don't want to miss a storyline. And I'm really hard on myself. Are you, Kim? How do you handle that?
Well, I think my situation is a little bit different because I do have a partner, my husband, as owner. And so I found that we both have different skill sets, right? So if you ask me a play that happened during the game, even like on Monday morning, right? Like I have a hard time like remembering plays and like actually points of the game, right? But my husband, he'll tell you,
but that's where he excels,
play at 3-1. Why do we do so? But I look at things differently. So I'm hard on myself in terms of the things that I do and I can control. I'm not hard on myself on things I know I'm not good at, or that, and I let other people do that. So, but no, I would say I am like things that I control. Like I am probably hard on myself and competitive. I mean, but that's okay though.
Yeah, and I think it's the team around us.
That's who we are. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the team around us that lifts us up. Erin, you talk about your Fox family, and Kim, you have your husband, and I have a team full of media people that help me do my job as well as you guys. I mean, there's awesome to have so many people around you that lift you up and give you praise and encouragement to make it in a world where it's still so dominated by men. But being so busy.
Look at there's 3 of us talking about football. This is awesome.
I know.
It's
That's
so
one reason
awesome.
why
Yeah,
we're doing
it's
this
great.
podcast.
Yes.
But Erin, you said you're so busy that you can't even sometimes worry about that because it's what game do I have next? What do I have to prepare for? What are some of these breaking stories that are coming out? During the NFL season, what's your schedule like on some of those busiest days? Like, take me through a day of Erin Andrews when you're in the middle of the craziness.
Well, it's this week. So prime example, let's start with Sunday, right? And I don't even know how I did this last year. So Sunday, we're in Chicago and the game goes into overtime. We've been in Chicago since Friday, but we've been on the road since Wednesday because we did a Thursday night game. So we're packed up, we're at Chicago, overtime. No, the last flight out of Chicago is at 8:35, and we know the minute because it's like we got to make this. What's the cutoff time? So we get to the airport, we rush on, land probably at 11:45. I get home in bed by 12:30. The dog starts acting up at 1. So Monday morning, it's go time because I've got to leave again on Wednesday for my Thursday game. So Monday, you're checking in with PR guys. Hey, can I get so-and-so to call me? Hey, can I do this? Are we doing a sit-down interview? I am. It's Tuesday today. I'm now getting on the phone after with you guys with players. I have a sit-down interview on Wednesday. And then also think you got to pack. By the way, when have I done laundry? And, am I getting my roots done? I don't know. So then I am on the, road on Thursday. We've got a game Thursday. We hope we have a game. We don't know what's going to happen. And then from there, I get on a plane for Friday and do a game on Sunday. And then it's back to square one on Monday. Now, last year I used to not have a Monday because I was at the studio all day for Dancing with the Stars. This year it's obviously calmed down a little bit, but and then Tuesdays are filled, like I just said, even though I'm going to talk to players, we're, doing the clothing line, trying to worry about, maybe trying to get another job here or there off the football field. So it's nuts. But like, I have a feeling this is where I would bond with Kim. It's never enough. I'm always still looking for more. I complain about being so busy, but if I'm not busy, I'm complaining even more. So I think as Troy Aikman said to me the other day, you're always looking for something to do, huh? You just want to be crazy. And the crazier I am, the better.
We would be best friends, Erin.
Yeah.
We would like rule the world.
Yeah.
But well, you talked about some of the other things that you're doing outside of football, the clothing line, which I will tell you, I love. We are sporting it.
Thank you guys. That means a lot.
What was the inspiration behind that? Is that something you were always interested in trying to find? And I will say that sometimes it is hard finding female-related sports.
That's not pink and doesn't have glitter all over it. Isn't like blah. This is women's clothing.
Yeah, no, so true. Obviously, I'm a huge sports fan. My husband played in the NHL, so
Which
even
we're
trying
going to talk about. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the hockey part too.
Oh, okay, great. So I was always trying to find gear to wear to his games to cheer him on. And then, after be able to go get a drink or go to dinner and not look like a mega fan. And then, I did a night out, a ladies' night for the NFL, like for the Super Bowl a few years back, like 5-6 years ago. And they wanted me to wear the clothes. And I just started talking to my manager and your friend, Kim Constance Schwartz Marini. And I just said, I feel like this is an area we could make some noise. I mean, I'm very much a tomboy. You guys mentioned the pink, the bedazzles. Listen, there's a whole market for that. And the people that wear it are adorable. And I wish I could pull it off. It's just not my world. I'm more of like a black, gray, white, you've got the army jacket on, you've got the bomber. That's just kind of my vibe. And I just thought it would be cool to have something that like a staple in my closet, try to find a unique way to put a Buffalo Bills mascot on it, and then be able to go to a dinner or go to Bart when we were able to, or be able to cheer for your team now if you can't get to the stadium, anywhere and everywhere, at your house, in your backyard, wherever you're social distancing, cheering on your Buffalo team. So it took a really long time. Again, at our dinner, Kim, I'm going to tell you all about the people that were like, sounds like a good idea, but are you really going to back it very much? I don't know. Are people going to buy it? How much are you going to be involved? I was knocking down so many doors. I had so many doors closed in my face. We got this closed so many times. And then we had a soft launch last year in the NFL, and we were all kind of like, we'll see what happens. Michael Rubin and Fanatics backed us. We kicked ass, and we were
Yeah.
so pumped. And Constance, myself, Michael Strahan, we knew it could work. We just wanted it to show other people it did. And now we're trying to, get our stuff ready to go for next season. And I just heard from my COO that a team that's a big buyer is so pumped. They already saw our 2021 and they were like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. So we're really excited.
Well, I love the line, and I was so happy because I of course you love getting like boxes, so I had this box come into my office, and I was like, oh, I'm not expecting anything, and I opened it up, and was so happy to see your product there, to see that you were having it out for this year. I'm like quickly texting Constance and be like, hey, what's going on? And that's when she told me you were just at the game, and I was like, dang it, I missed her. I missed you
I know.
at our Bills game. So like I said, I know it's a different experience this year. But we are definitely going to connect on that Leonard.
I can't wait.
Erin, you've had a clothing line now. You have done NFL, college football, baseball, NHL, Dancing with the Stars, hosted CMAs. I mean, what's next? What is something that you haven't hosted that you want to, or something that you haven't been able to tackle yet that you want to do in your career?
Well, I've had a chance. I'm working on a scripted project with Kevin Hart's production company, which we're really excited about. That's been a really fun thing for me to try to be an executive producer of. Definitely looking for new opportunities to host. I'm trying to convince Kevin to do a morning talk show with me. Not that he's already busy enough, but I'm just like, come on, enough of this comedy thing. Come be with me every morning. Let's do a talk show. I'm in my 40s trying to have a family. I'm, recently married as of 3 years ago, trying to navigate my way in my life through all of this. And I would like to do that at some point. Again, I can't be busier than I already am, but I'd love to. We're talking about a whole podcast thing with one of my best girlfriends who's involved in sports too. We'll have you guys on. And I just kind of those things. Sometimes when I'm traveling, especially through this global pandemic, I think I could host Saturday Night Live because of all the craziness that I see around me. I don't think I could pull off a whole show, but I do think I could do a couple skits, which would be a hoot, but that's it.
Well, I would definitely watch that. If you made that happen, Erin, I would definitely be watching Saturday Night Live. You talked about your husband. You talked about your husband. He's Canadian. He's an ex-hockey player. So obviously hockey is big here in Buffalo as well. So obviously your first job was with Tampa Bay, like you mentioned. So what have you learned from having a husband who has been a professional athlete? I've got a daughter that's been a professional athlete. I've learned tons from her. Just like to hear from you, being married to an athlete, if that's helped you relate maybe to more so the players or the teams.
I think if anything, it has, and I think that's why a lot of these guys, I hope, trust me, because for me, it's not about just getting this story. I've been around a lot of athletes that obviously, have been hurt, and my thought right away is, oh my God, his wife is watching, or his kids are watching, or, this could be his career. And I do think it is a different perspective. My husband has had a lot of injuries. I've, been in the back of an ambulance before, and it's a lot. And, there's been times where you've had a doctor say, this may be it. And hockey's so violent, as you guys know. So I do think it gives me a different perspective when I'm dealing with these guys, and also dealing with their injuries and what they go through every day. A lot of times when I get on the phone with players, it's not just about the game. I start off right away. How's your family? How are they doing? How are your kids? How's your wife holding up with all this? Prime example, the story came out last week about one of the players with the New Orleans Saints, Demario Davis, who is an absolute dream and a gem. Not only is he trying to navigate his way through COVID, his 10-month-old daughter just lost her left eye due to retinal cancer. And his wife and 3 other kids are in Nashville right now because they are close to the institute that's dealing with her. She's doing great, but the first 10 minutes I was on the phone with him wasn't even about the game plan versus the Bears. It's like, oh my gosh, how's your wife? How are you? What can I do to help? It's a lot. These guys are going day in, day out, trying to prepare and get ready for games. And I know what it's like to be the nagging wife, while they're trying to go play that night. They're juggling a lot. And I feel like I can really kind of relate to that. And it does give me a different perspective. It's not like I'm a hard hitting kind of reporter, but you also have to think they have a family at home that's watching this too. This is their lives, you know?
Yeah, and I think
That's
this
a
year
good
more
question.
than I think this year more than any other
Yeah.
year, we've seen that come to life with some of social justice issues that our players having to deal with, them
Yeah.
having a bigger voice. So I definitely think that those types of stories, getting that out there and looking at our athletes as humans and
Totally.
as real people that have similar issues that we may all be dealing with or worse. It's just a nice story this year among kind of this pandemic that we're able to see people for who they really are, not just the player that they are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean,
I
fell in
miss
love.
them though. Gosh, I miss them. I do. It's just, you know, it's so, even just being in the first row and just being away from guys, like pregame, you'd always go give some guys hugs. They'd always be like, "What's going on Dancing with the Stars?" or "What's going on with the Gators?" And yeah, I'm sure you guys feel the same way. I just miss the personal contact a lot.
Yeah, speaking of that personal contact, I mean, your job is to make that connection with the players and the
Yeah.
coaches and to get information before your game because you're the sideline reporter who's delivering those storylines, who's delivering that information in game. So, how have you had to adjust the way you do your job? What's some of the toughest things now in this COVID world that we've been living in?
Yeah, it's hard. And I think this game this Thursday is going to be a big example of it. You know, I've kind of laid off the Packers. I'm on the Packers sideline this weekend or this Thursday because they are dealing with a player who tested positive and they don't know. They got their test results today and two more guys got put on the list. They're waiting for more test results tomorrow. They're dealing with a lot. And the last thing, I know I have a job to do, but the last thing they want to do is deal with the sideline reporter that I need an offensive and defensive player to talk to. This is real life stuff they're dealing with. So I've got, you know, that I feel bad asking. They've been great. They're going to have a few guys call me, but for games, there's that period where before guys get in their uniforms, it's kind of like the pre-game where they're in just whatever they want to wear. They're usually FaceTiming their families and they're on the field. That's great time. You can go get information. Like if it's windy, how is this wind affecting, you know, how you're play calling, or, you know, you talk to the quick kicker really quick. Where do you feel comfortable from? For the Packers game, this would have been great because they're going to be down a couple running backs. So we may have the third string running back out there for Thursday night. I would quickly go run after him and say, what are your keys? How much time? What, you know, who are you relying on? How much is Rodgers going to help you? You really don't get that last minute information if stuff breaks. Le'Veon Bell was signed right before your game against Kansas City. We had already spoken to the players that week. You couldn't run down there and talk to the running backs coach about it. So we obviously are missing a lot of that last minute pertinent information that I feel brings value to me in the broadcast, but we're doing our best, right? We're all adjusting. I'm so thankful the NFL and Fox is still having us on the broadcast. You just feel like there's so much more you could give, but the access is so limited at this point.
What's one of your
Which drives me crazy.
pre-COVID world when we could get
Yeah.
that type of information and when that face-to-face communication was real and was such an important part of your job, thinking about all the games that you've sidelined, what is one of the craziest or wildest moments that you've had as a sideline reporter?
I think the Richard Sherman moment, I mean, it was for so many reasons, you know, that game was bananas, first of all. And the play was huge. And, you know, me grabbing him and his emotion. And I knew that everybody was going to think that we're going to say what was said in the beginning. Oh, he's screaming at her. He scared her. Thing about me is I could pretty much hold my own. And I kind of always think that if I played football and I was a guy, I'd be a linebacker because I just want to be like, ah, like rip somebody's head off and make the tackle and sack a quarterback. And
I love it.
I sat there and I was like, this is freaking awesome. Like, this is amazing. You don't see athletes doing this. And the look I had on my face during that whole thing, which I wish I could go back and do over, was like, holy crap, this is amazing. And I better ask him a good follow-up question because everybody is watching this moment because athletes don't do this. And I was bummed that everybody thought he scared me or that it was wrong what he did. It was great what he did. He just made a game-saving play that sent them to the Super Bowl against a wide receiver he had beef with. And it was awesome. And I actually tried to talk to Snickers right after, that whole incident and said, we should do a commercial on this where Sherm and I are reenacting this and I give him a Snickers and then he's like not hangry anymore. I was like, here we go. This is a great commercial. Nobody listened to me. My management did, but Snickers didn't. But yeah, and Sherman and I are super tight and I love him and I love his wife and I love the way he plays and I love how smart he is. And that was one of the coolest moments for me.
And then as the weather's getting colder, I mean, we know in Buffalo it's about to start to drop. Thankfully, this Sunday kickoff looks like a pretty high temp for November in Buffalo. But you've been on the sidelines.
What is the temp?
68 degrees, 66 degrees. I'm not complaining.
Great.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. But you've been on the sidelines for some really cold games. What is the coldest game or the most miserable weather game that you've had to be a part of, and how did you strap yourself up for that game basically to be able to do it?
Yeah, I literally strap myself up because what I wear apparatus wise is crazy. Look, I mean, we do Green Bay games all the time. Sorry, my 70-pound golden retriever is growling and barking at the landscaping guy. It's fine, Howie. So I've done games at Lambeau where I've literally I could be electrocuted. Like I've had batteries, everything, the socks, the vest, the hand warmers. I've actually, we did a playoff game at Lambeau. It's when Kaepernick absolutely ran all over Green Bay's defense. I can't even remember. He had a sick night. I was so cold. I was on the 49ers sideline. I put my hand up to the heater and it caught on fire. A couple of the players were like, your glove's on fire. And I was like, oh my God. But I think the worst, I can handle Lambeau cold. I mean, you're going to have snot running down your face. It's not pretty. It just sucks. It's freezing. But I got to tell you, last year we did Cowboys, Patriots in Foxborough, and it was freezing and it was wet and it was raining and it couldn't turn into snow and the wind was just gusting and I was just so miserable. And, there's supposed to be a barrier between you and the players, but I was so cold and so wet. My hands were soaked and so were my gloves. I just laid out my gloves with where the offensive linemen had their stuff. They were like, here, just come on. Cause it was just so miserable. And they were like, just dry your gloves. That was probably the worst weather I've ever been a part of. It was so bad.
No, well, besides the weather, there's other great things about football. What do you think, is the best part about the game? And has it changed since you got into the business from, when you first started in football to where we are now? I mean, taking COVID aside.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I'm like not even thinking of COVID at this point. The best part of the game for me is, and why I still do it at 42 years old when, I miss obviously big things with my family and my life and so forth and the traveling and the weather. You're the best seat in the house. I am right there when Tom Brady comes off the field and is either pissed or pumped. I am right there when Aaron Rodgers throws like a game-winning touchdown. I am right there when Richard Sherman makes a game-saving, play to go to the Super Bowl. I don't want to be anywhere else on a Thursday or a Sunday. I love it so much. I look up to these guys so much. I appreciate their competitiveness. I appreciate what they've done, to be in the game. I've had so many game officials pull me back on the sidelines because I get so pumped up. I'm out on the field. I'm like, what? It's just awesome. Like, I'm a huge sports fan and to be right there is amazing. So yeah, it's when that wears off on me and when I'm not nervous for my first sideline hit to where my hand is shaking, which it always does. I mean, we did a huge monster game the other day. We did Green Bay at Tampa, Rodgers versus Brady. My hand was shaking so bad my first hit. I had to start moving around in the hit because I didn't want people to know. Because I was like, this is two Hall of Famers. This is a monster matchup. This is a Super Bowl matchup. So when I get like that, when it stops being like that, it's time for me to leave because that's just so cool.
Yeah, I love it.
I say the same thing. I love all the parts about football and the sports just in general that I'm still excited to do what I do every day. It's not a job. I don't even get paid, Erin. I don't even get paid for this job. But I do it just because I love it. And what I love about sports is the unpredictability about it. And sitting in the owner's chairs where you feel like you can control so many things, who you hire as a coach, how much money you spend on players. But at the end of the day, you have no control. When that game starts, whether
True.
it's hockey, whether it's football, you have no control whatsoever. And the unpredictability about whatever can happen during that game, that's the part I think is so exciting about sports.
Aaron, if
It's the
you
best
ever,
reality show
Yeah,
out there. I mean,
it
you don't know how it's going to end. You don't know what cast of characters are going to come in the beginning, or in the beginning you do, or in the middle. It's awesome.
I was going to say, Aaron, if you're ever back in Buffalo for a game, you'll have to come up to where Kim sits because she has got the candy going during the game. So if,
That
Oh,
is
she
you
my
want,
does?
if you want
stress.
a sweet
Yes.
spread, go up to
Yeah.
Kim's press
Yeah.
box.
Well, you talk about getting nervous, right? And that's a good thing. So I get nervous for a game as well, but I eat sugar, and that's probably which doesn't really help. But that's my thing. I still get nervous after, before, during every game, and I constantly have sugar on hand to ease my anxiousness.
Yeah.
But
What's your sugar of choice, Kim?
it probably between Sour Patch Kids and Swedish Fish.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
you're basically, you and my husband are like from the same
I
like
see.
womb there.
Well,
That's
is
all
he?
he does.
Is
It's
he?
like,
Well,
what?
because he's
How's your teeth not
Canadian,
rotting
right?
out?
We're really,
Yeah.
because we're close to Canada. So have you learned any Canadian, kind of special habits? Do you celebrate Thanksgiving plus Boxing Day, or has he been pretty much Americanized by you?
He's been here for quite some time. He came here, gosh, he first played in Edmonton for a while, and then he came here a long time ago. I don't even know. But yeah, he's pretty Americanized. But I got to tell you, we have those Canadian chocolate candy bars. I forgot what they're called. I should have run down and brought them. But they're like this big and they're huge. And his parents bring them. Ketchup chips. I know a lot
Yep,
about
that's
ketchup
a thing.
chips.
Yep. Is it Coffee
Let's
Crisp? That's my favorite Canadian
Yeah,
candy
Coffee
bar.
Crisp is one
Coffee
of
Crisp?
them.
Coffee Crisp.
It's
Is
called
that it?
big bar or big mat. I don't know. It's something like that. Yeah, ketchup chips. What else have we had to experience? I don't know. I'm trying to think. But yes, I try so badly on air not to say the offense or the the
Offense,
offense.
yeah.
How the offense. I mean, can you imagine if
Yeah.
if I did that on air?
That's
People would die. Um, yeah, no, they're you guys Canadians are just they're good people. They know how to have a good time. Oh, kokanee beers. I like a kokanee. They're really good.
Yeah. No.
Aaron-
We have a lot of Canadian fans also
Yeah.
that come down here
Yeah.
as well, and we're missing them as well. So
Definitely.
and
I
with our
know.
borders closed, can't get up there to get the Canadian candy anymore. So I did have someone send me some though, so I'm good for now.
Aw.
Aaron, before we wrap up, what's your advice to young female journalists who are trying to make it in this industry? Because it's a popular major for a lot of young women. It's a
Yeah.
dream that a lot of young women have, but it's a hard job to get because there's not enough of them out there for how many
Right.
women want to get into the industry. So what's your advice for them?
You know what? I would agree with you on that. And it's like honestly like trying to find a job to host a game show or a reality ballroom show. Yeah, there's not a lot of prime time spots, but look, if you're good, if you make some noise in the industry, you'll make it. But I will say there's a lot more opportunity because of like what you're doing, digital, like everybody on Teams, because I'm always on the Teams website because there's always the best information on them. There's the reporters on the team. There's you guys all have now your own production groups, and that's so exciting. And I think that opens up a lot of jobs for women as well, or girls that want to be involved. I would say the two biggest things are two lessons I learned from men who I care about in my life. One was my dad. I graduated from the University of Florida, and as soon as I graduated, all I did was watch or read everything about the Gators. And I remember I went for my first job interview with the NHL team, the Tampa Bay Lightning, in my city. And my dad said, you may need to put down the article about the Gators and start reading about other teams. There are other teams and other leagues out there. But when you go to a college for 4 years, you think that's all that exists. Well, my dad was right. I would say at this point, start studying, start watching a lot of these docu-series. there's so much information available, like be on The Athletic every week, read some of these features. When I was coming up, it was like Sports Illustrated and SI.com and ESPN.com. Now there's so much stuff you can read on the internet about teams and about leagues. Just be really well educated on, all the different leagues. And the other thing is, Kim knows this, is you have to have thick skin. And it's something at 42 years old, I'm still trying to deal with. I look at guys like Tom Brady a lot and try to, kind of look at how he handles criticism and always being the number one story on SportsCenter. I'm not saying that happens to me, but I had an athlete tell me one time, I could be in a stadium where hundreds of thousands of people are cheering me on and I get a couple bad tweets and it ruins my day.
Mm-hmm.
I try hard, not after games, to read the tweets or look at what people are saying. But yeah, it's hard. You want everybody to like you, and it's not going to happen. So you just have to have thick skin. And the former head coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning, John Tortorella, taught me that when I was crying to him one day about being on a message board and everybody talking bad about my nose and how my voice was terrible. And he said, you know what? You got to have thick skin. You got to let it run off your back. And I'm still trying, but I like to look at how some of these other athletes that I look up to kind of handle that.
Well, Erin, you have been a great inspiration to me, to a lot of our listeners.
Me too.
Thank you so much for being on air with us. Looking forward to that Linner. So as soon as,
Linner.
Yeah, so we tell Constance, hook us up. I am available whenever. So hopefully you'll get back to a Buffalo game.
Yes,
get to experience our Bills Mafia and what it's all about.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for having me on, and thanks for repping the wear. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Woo. Thank you, Erin. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right,
thanks, guys.
Luck.
Have a good rest of your season.
Okay,
Stay safe.
Yeah, good luck too.
All right, bye.
Bye.
The New York Lottery is giving away $50 worth of the new limited edition New York Series scratch-off tickets with a chance to win up to $1 million to one of our lucky listeners each week. Visit buffalobills.com/New York Lottery or click on the link in the podcast description to enter now. All right, Kim, Week 9 is upon us. It's a game against the Seattle Seahawks, the leaders in the NFC West. Not going to be an easy matchup at all. I've been looking up the stats of this team, and Russell Wilson is definitely having an MVP candidate season so far. The team's averaging 4 touchdowns a game, so we're going to have to put up some points. We're also going to have to limit them from scoring some points. They have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, so quite a few weapons on their team who can do some damage, but regardless, it should be an exciting game because, again, this is a team that you don't get coming to Buffalo every year.
Yeah, no, the last time under our own ownership, we went to Seattle to play them on a Monday night. Almost won that game, kind of came really close right there at the last minute. But it's not a team that we get to play that often and to see that. But certainly they are, they've found a way to win. They haven't been all blow away games though. So that still keeps me hopeful. We've had a lot of games this past week where there were teams that had the, kind of a worse what do you call it? They've lost more games.
Yep.
But actually ended up beating a team that was heavily favored. So we had a lot of those teams and those games come up last week. So I think we are getting with this kind of half into the season where anything can happen now. And teams that were, are blowing other people away, they're vulnerable. And I think Seattle is one of those teams where, yes, they are, they're 8-1, 7-1?
6-1.
6-1.
They've had their bye week already,
okay, all right.
6-1.
They're 6-1. But their games, there have been some close ones there, and so I'm not ever going to give up on our Buffalo Bills. So it's just an interesting matchup, and plus you also like to just see some of the greats of athletes that we have at the league. And Russell Wilson, like you said, an MVP candidate, especially this season, has been in the past. So a Super Bowl champion. So it's always just fun to be there, right? And to kind of just see those types of players at the top of their game, doing what they do. So that's another part of something I'm looking forward to at the game.
To play against a team as good as the Seahawks, I think this only helps you for the playoffs, to play against some top-notch teams who have beat some great teams. I thought Bills fans and the Bills were going to get a little bit lucky and not have to face Jamal Adams, but it looks like he's going to be coming back for this game depending on how practice goes for him this week. According to Pete Carroll, he was out with a groin injury since week 3, and Bills fans are thinking, oh, we don't have to play him over the Jets anymore. He's not a part of the Jets organization, so we're good. But here comes Jamal Adams for the Seahawks.
And we're not even getting an advantage from the weather. So it's going to be in the mid-60s, and it's going to be not much different up in Seattle, so we're not even going to get that. But certainly excited to see Russell Wilson, to see that team look at what they do well, and then, like you said, and look forward to what our team can do against the matchup.
And even going ahead of or after the Seahawks game, looking into the rest of the season, we have some tough competition that we will face. The Cardinals, the Chargers, the 49ers, the undefeated Steelers, the Broncos, and then we'll see the Patriots and the Dolphins again. What do you think about what's ahead for this team? We do have some primetime games ahead too, so that'll be really exciting.
Yeah, no, we definitely have a tough, on paper, a tough second half to go through. But again, like I said, this is kind of that middle of the season. I think on an earlier podcast, Bill Cowher said it's this middle gray muddy time that if you can make yourself kind of not do a lot of harm and get through this middle period, come out strong at the end and really then push for a playoff spot. So I feel like that's where we're going to be in, right? A lot of mud, a lot of thick mud that we're going to be dealing with some of the teams that you just talked about. But you know what? Like I said, that's what I love about football. It's unpredictable, right? It's unpredictable. Anything can happen. Obviously, injuries play a part of that. We just got, John Feliciano back, and hopefully get some other players back.
True.
We have a bye week coming
week
up
11
as well.
bye week.
So, like I said, you want to play against the best. You want to see where your team holds up against another team, and so going forward, even I know Brandon Bean, even now as we're playing in this season, he's thinking about next season, right? That's what good GMs do, right? And so you kind of want to see, like you said, how you match up against the best teams, especially this season, and where do you need to improve? What things can you do to get better? And then what do you already have that really guys need to step up? And so it's going to be an interesting second half.
It will be. I think we have the team to be able to go up against and put a good game out there against a lot of these teams. I just hope, fingers crossed, that we can be healthy through it all. Yeah. I think we've dealt with our injuries already, so the injury gods just need to bless us for the rest of the NFL season. We've had enough. I don't want any more. I want to be healthy going into the second half.
Well, and I do think it does. I think what I would be looking forward to is getting all three phases of our team kind of all working together. So we've had games where our defense has really saved us in the second half. We've had where our offense really lit up and won the game for us. Like you said, Tyler Bass, when we've had our special teams kind of be the one that actually ends up winning. So imagine when we get all three of them together, and that's what we're striving for as we push into a playoff spot. So
I would love that. And all the coordinators and Coach McDermott says you want to be playing your best football in November and December. Well, we have arrived in November, so let's see what this team
how
has
fast
in
it
store.
Has gone. Yeah,
right?
Unbelievable. So.
That's going to do it for us, Kim. Thanks for being on. Great interview with Erin Andrews. To our listeners, we appreciate you tuning in week to week. Make sure you check out next week's episode because we will have another good guest. Bills Pod Squad brought to you by New York Lottery. See you next week.